Welcome to the Admin Society podcast. My name is Erica Chandler, and I'm going to be your host for today's episode.
What's up, guys? I'm so excited that you're here. Today is the second episode that's going to be released on January 8th, and I am excited because today we're going to deep dive into the hard stuff and talk about customer service. This is a subject that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I teach in depth with my students in Tattoo Admin Masterclass, and I'm going to talk more about it today. So when it comes to customer service, honestly, I feel like this is a skill that's so underrated. And people are working in this sort of type of position. I'm sorry, and I hate to admit it, and I hate to say this out loud, but I think anyone that's involved working with clients needs to take some sort of customer service class or have knowledge of customer service. Because I'm sorry, if you've got a stinky attitude, that should be left at the door before you walk into work. And I'm going to talk about this because with tattoo assistants, it's good and bad when it comes to our customer service. And a lot of the times, just pushing aside the bad part of it for a second, a lot of the times tattoo assistants tend to take things and overcomplicate things and take everything personally, because what happens is we are put in this position to talk with clients and be able to figure out what it is, what kind of tattoo they're wanting, what's the meaning behind it. But the problem is that we tend to overcomplicate and take on everybody's problems as if it's our own. And that's something that makes it so difficult when we're communicating with clients, when we're communicating about policy changes, when we are trying to effectively help clients. And it's something that it's not talked about enough. When I am teaching, just go into my world for a minute. When I am teaching tattoo assistants and shop managers how to specifically talk to clients, I'm putting a spotlight on what you are not responsible for and what you are responsible for. Because if you eliminate the need to worry about what is not your responsibility, it gets easier to talk to clients. And I promise you that if you start only worrying about what you can control, talking to clients is a breeze. When it comes to setting appointments, if your artist only has the 15th of January open, but your client says they only have the 16th available or can get it off of work, I'm sorry, you are more than welcome to accommodate and help them. But if your artist can only tattoo on certain days because of their schedule, because think about it, they have their own personal lives too, and they set up their schedule just for us to enforce it. If you have a client that can't make it on the 15th but can do the 17th, but you know your artist doesn't have that available, you don't need to take their issue as it is your issue. The next step that you're supposed to do is help and guide them to get them scheduled. We're there to say, no, I'm sorry, but my artist does not have that available. He only tattoos on X, Y, and Z days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for example. He only has the 15th of this month. We can look into next month if that works better, but at this moment we can't reserve a date like that for you. It's not personal. It's business. And when it comes to talking to clients, it's business. Yes, you can have empathy and compassion for clients and be on good standing terms and have good relationships with your clients and with your artist clients. But at the end of the day, there's still some things that you have to communicate. And in order for you to do that, you need to be able to put aside those issues of feeling bad and wanting to go above and beyond and wanting to people please and strictly focus on the business and what the business needs of you. Because as a tattoo assistant, you are somebody that is essentially going to be the face of the company. You don't own it, but you are talking with clients. You are in front of clients if you work the counterpart. If you are just ultimately putting your hands on emails or just being a first point of contact for clients, you are essentially acting like the face of the company. And it's crucially important for you to understand that it's not personal. It's business. You need to keep your mind wrapped that way. Let's start talking about what is your responsibility. Your responsibility is to control how you perceive things. Your responsibility is to control how you respond to clients responding to you. Your responsibility is you alone. But here's what you're not responsible for. You're not responsible for your client's inability to schedule. You're not responsible for your client's emotions. You're not responsible for whether or not they can afford you or your artist. You are not responsible for how they respond if you set a policy or boundary in place. You are not responsible for making their problems your problems. Because at the end of the day, guess who's the only person that you can control is you. You can't control anything outside of that. So when you have customer service, when you're talking with clients, keep in the forefront of your mind what you can control. Because if you focus on people pleasing, if you focus on scheduling your artist outside of their hours because you felt like this client needs it, but then they end up not showing up, and what happens? It becomes a nightmare. It's not your job to bend over backwards for clients. And I'm not saying to never go above and beyond. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is not your job to sacrifice your own mental health, whether you are the tattoo assistant or the tattoo artist. It is not your job. Your job is to educate the clients on the process to the best of your abilities and to keep integrity with how the business is running. Because at the end of the day, if you don't do those things, the customer is in control. You aren't. As a client, and I will always have my mind wrapped as a client, I'm constantly adapting and I'm constantly thinking like a client. Because if I'm going to search for a tattoo artist on Instagram or Facebook or however you get your inquiries, if I'm searching for a tattoo artist, I'm not just looking for how good their tattoos are, because their art speaks for themselves when they post it. Sometimes when a client does not book with you or your artist, it's not always about the money. I'm sorry. I don't believe that them not being able to afford you is the 100% the reasoning behind it. I feel like that can be a cop out. I feel like that can be just an excuse when it doesn't go the way that it's supposed to go. Sometimes when a client does not book, it's because of how you treated them, how you approach the situation. If you're constantly on high alert, if you're constantly perceiving messages as passive aggressive, when sometimes clients don't really even know how to communicate properly. Sometimes their messages may be very genuine and we can go and blow it out of proportion. That's something we need to check. It's not always about the money. It can be various of things. Yes, money can be a reason, but it's not always. It could be your email process. It could be how you're approaching them in email or in person. If you work the counter and the first thing that you do is sneak your head around the corner of your computer and go, "Hi, can I help you?" And then you don't engage after that, or just say, "Okay, just let me know if you have any questions." How enticing is that as a client? And I'm not using this to rag on you for your customer service skills. I'm simply trying to make you aware that we are emotional beings. We buy from emotion. And if we don't feel welcomed and heard, or even just downright happy about our purchases or about what we have or what we want, we're going to regret them and we're not going to want to buy them. There was a time when my customer service sucked. And it wasn't when I was a tattoo assistant, but it was actually, I worked for Kroger. I started off trying to climb the corporate ladder at Kroger. And I tell you, anything that screws up or anything that messes with your customer service, I tell you what, working for a grocery store tests your patience and tests everything to your being. Now, granted, there were some skills that I learned from Kroger that are very beneficial to what I do now. But there was a time where I had a client come barreling in upset that we didn't accept their coupon. I worked at the customer service desk and the coupon ended up being expired and the client was upset. I pretty much sarcastically responded to that person because they were whining and just wanting to get their way, and they asked for a manager, and the manager ended up caving with that. But what ended up happening was I got written up. I got in trouble because I was sarcastic. I wasn't helpful. I didn't know how to communicate properly my company's policies because that's never trained. No one, when it comes to training customer service, on an off note here, no one dedicates time to help your associates learn how to effectively communicate their policies. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the customer is not always right. 9 times out of 10, the customer is going to be wrong every single time. And it's going to be up to us to change the direction of how we want customer service to go. And this is a subject, like I said, I can't preach it enough. This is a subject that is never trained on. This is a subject that you have to learn through experience, but this is also a subject that you need to learn through structure. And it's not taught, and it's not appreciated, and it's not helpful. So the angle that I'm coming from, and the angle that I teach my students, is that you are only responsible for what you can control. You are not responsible for your client or your client's actions. And once you can identify what you are responsible for, communicating policies, being able to help clients, being able to feel confident in what you're doing, helps a lot more than just making someone sit at a book and just study. One thing that you don't realize is that how much of an influence word to mouth is. Let's say I walked into your tattoo shop and the shop manager, the tattoo assistant was working the counter, hardly greeted me, made me feel like shit. And then the artist came in and felt like they really didn't care because the tattoo wasn't probably up to their standards of what they actually want to do. What's going to happen is I'm going to have a bad experience at hand, and I am more than likely going to either go to the internet, I'm going to go to somebody, and I'm going to tell 5 people. And guess what happens? Those 5 people that I just told are going to tell an average of 5 more people each. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add it up towards, that's 25 people, times that by your pay rate or your artist's day rate or however they charge, and see how much money you missed out. Customer service skills matter so much more on making a very good first impression. Because if I'm going to have a good experience, I'm going to tell maybe 1 or 2 people, maybe here and there, give a recommendation, but it's not going to be as dramatic as if there was a bad experience. And this is what can make and break your business. It's not just about your prices. It's not just about the policies. It's not just about making sure that you have your policy or your company put into place. It's not just about making yourself seem like you are put together. It's also your customer service. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to like maybe Auntie Anne's for soft pretzels, and the people there are so freaking rude. Like, I know that everyone has a life outside of their work, and I get it, and I'm sure that there are some people that hate it, but at the end of the day, you're there to do a job. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, this might call some people out, but you need to empty your cup of your problems, leave it at the door so you can go in and do your job. And then after your job, go and pick it back up so you can go and deal with it. When it comes to a bad mood, you are in control of how it affects you. You're in control of how long it affects you. You're in control of letting it be just a minute and say, okay, that sucked. I had a bad minute, but it's not going to make for a bad day. You are in control of all of that. And that goes back to my points. Being in control of what you do, what you say, the actions you speak is what you are in control of. You are not in control of your client's issues. You're not in control of fearing of whether or not your client can afford you. You are not in control of that. You are willing and able to accept your part in your own actions. Communicating policy gets easier. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on the internet that because of the actions of other clients, this is a policy that we're putting into place. I use this so many times and times again because it's relevant. But if you're saying, due to multiple no-call, no-shows, I am now requiring clients to put a deposit down in order to schedule, what does that appear to as your client or future client or returning client is looking at that. What does that look like to them? That looks like you're punishing your other clients because of the actions of few, because you haven't taken the time to fully communicate effectively what that policy is in place for. If you have a lot of no call, no shows and you need to make a policy, make the changes you need to make. But what you need to be doing is communicating your policies and the effective needs of what your business needs, not into the eyes of being all personal and trying to people please and trying to justify why you are making this policy, ergo the due to multiple no call, no shows, which would justify why you're making the policy. That just opens the door for clients to question your integrity or question your artist's business integrity or open the door for questions that trust me, you do not want to answer. You do not want clients to say, well, because of this client, this is the reason why I have to do this now. That's not fair. But instead, your clients are going to be more understanding if you learn the craft and art of communicating the policies based on the business needs. Again, your customer service skills and how you communicate matters. If you go and say, due to a blessed season, in order to best serve my clients, or in order for us to best serve our clients, we now require money in order to be able to schedule an appointment. Boom, bam, simple as that. Your clients are going to be more understanding and more receptive of that policy change versus just saying, I'm sorry, due to multiple no call, no shows, I'm requiring this. Your customer skills matter. They do. And I'm going to say it over and over and over and over and over again until you can get it in your head. Your customer service skills matter. And it's something that you need to dedicate time to perfect. Nobody's perfect. I understand that. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect because I'm not either. I fuck up still. But the point of the matter is it's not always about the money as to why a client doesn't book with you or your artist. I could talk about this subject all day. And matter of fact, I'm probably one that annoys my husband if he's listening. Sorry, I love you, but he probably gets annoyed with me talking about this. But it's the observations that I see from a day-to-day basis, whether it be on the online or my interactions with people in person. Like I had someone get pissed off at me. Like, those of you who don't know, I am deaf in my right ear and I am hard of hearing in my left. So I have about 70% hearing in my left ear. See, when the era of the face masks happened with COVID, I struggled to be in public because I could not read your lips. I could not try to make the sounds out of, what you're trying to say through lip reading. I tried very hard. I tried asking to repeat themselves. And during that time, they would drag down their mask and be like, I said da 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 da, with an attitude and everything. It doesn't matter that I asked you to repeat yourself. What matters is how you speak to me in that moment when I ask you to repeat yourself. And this happens at grocery stores. This happens everywhere. It's something that I still struggle with even without the face masks. But the point is that if you've got a client that's asking questions and you come across as it sounds like there's an inconvenience, or this person is an idiot, or they don't really know the process, who fucking cares? They're never going to know the process. You always have to communicate and educate the clients until you're blue in the face and 10 times more. You can't assume that the clients are going to know and understand you and your business or your artist's business when they don't run it. They don't control it. But what's happening is that some people are getting so upset and so pissed off that clients are asking these questions, and they're being told that it's okay to ask these questions on social media, and they're doing that. And there's other people, other tattoo assistants, shop managers, tattoo artists, whoever in this industry specifically, but also in other industries that act like those questions are an inconvenience. They're not. What's an inconvenience is the attitude and the, okay, let me wipe out this email. Like, no. Take the time to educate them, regardless if they've returned or not, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that pays to move forward with a tattoo. They are the ones that pay for their nails and their hair, and they're the ones that make the decision whether or not to return. And if we treat clients like we don't give a shit, they are not going to return. I'm not saying that I'm perfect or that I don't ever get upset or frustrated when clients come in and ask questions, or they come in acting like they don't know how things operate, or because they could be confused because every artist operates and communicates in a different way. If I go around waltzing in, frustrated that clients are asking questions, or frustrated that this client said something that may be a little bit too passive aggressive, how am I in control of my life if I let everything disrupt my emotions? How am I in control? How is the client in control of my emotions at that point? See, this is why I keep talking about learning what you are in control of, because it helps you push aside the need to be passive aggressive to clients, and it helps you step into this helpful manner of actually helping and educating and getting off of that email knowing that you just helped a client, versus getting off the email and knowing, oh, that client just pissed me off, I'm not going to help them, blah, 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 blah. I end this podcast today. Think about things that disrupt your mood when it comes to speaking with clients. Think about the actions that they do that disrupt your emotions, that disrupt how you communicate. Because at the end of the day, you are in control of your emotions, you are in control of your actions, and you are in control of the words that you speak. And then when you control that, you'll be able to talk to clients and no problem. Thank you for listening today, and I cannot wait to see you next week.